Is this the illest nigga in Nebraska?
What? Is you bout it, fool?
Child, when this movie came out, it was a moment. Hype Williams was the hottest music video director at the time, and this was his first feature film. And this film features the who's who of hip hop during that time. For 1999, this movie was beautiful. Basically a feature-length music video with a slow-ass storyline. But we ate it up. And I ain't even gonna lie, this movie is still one of my guilty pleasures to this day, because between the fashions, the music, and everyone in this film, it's very nostalgic. And you know it's all about the nostalgia over here. But as always, while watching this movie, I noticed a few things, and you know we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it. First things first, this has to be the hardest intro to a movie ever. This is just a beautiful film that gives peak doing it for the 99s and the 2000s. So anyway, the movie starts off with Buns, aka Tommy, played by DMX, Sincere, played by Nas, and their boys hitting up a strip club. I feel for anyone trying to watch this scene because the flashing is intense. I don't recommend. Also, let me mention how I love the timing of the music with what was happening. How the beat kicked in when they touched the money. Yeah, that was dope. And of course, there's narration. It ain't a hood film without narration, child. But yeah, so after they hit up the strip club, they have Black dump the getaway car and the rest of them head over to Tommy's to count the money. Now, when they make it to Tommy's, we get to see how good he's living. His place was dope, and I really love the artwork. But listen, Tommy needs better judgment when it comes to movies.
Smell like a pile of bullshit!
We get a glance at Tommy's girl, Keisha, who is played by Terrell Hicks, who was so freaking gorgeous in this film. I really loved how Hype brought attention to her skin in her scenes. Now that I think about it, he did that with most of the characters. But then Mark makes a funny comment about the money, and Tommy was not feeling it.
Yeah, whatever. Let's start counting this money, man, before y'all niggas start stashing shit. You know, y'all get down.
I say sorry, because you hurt my feelings.
Not too long after, Keisha comes downstairs to complain about all the noise Tommy and his friends were making, and Sincere and Mark decide to head out. A little while later, Tommy's taking a very loud shower. Yeah, Keisha wasn't getting no peace that night, so while she's up, she starts looking through Tommy's pants. Mind you, while she's doing that, Tommy's busy listening to the news recount their activities earlier. So Keisha sees Tommy's two-way and notices a number that she doesn't know and calls it back. Turns out the number belongs to a whole teenager named Kiana. And why did Kiana answer the phone like Keisha was her homegirl?
Yo, who is this? Oh, what's up, Keisha? Yo, Tommy tells me everything about you. What's going on?
Child, so apparently, Tommy's been playing the long grooming game with Kiana, messing with this girl since she was 11, showing her how to kiss, having her give him oral favors since he said that she was too young to do more. Like, what the hell? Dude was a whole sicko out here, and Keisha was not having it.
Who the hell is Kiana, Tommy?
Kiana who?
She not only told me she know you, but that she sucked your little black dingaling last night. So what you gotta say now, huh?
Bitch is lying.
We then go between Tommy, Keisha, and their mess, and Sincere and his girlfriend T, played by T-Boss, having an argument. More like a discussion on their end. So while Tommy and Keisha's argument is aggressive and just toxic as hell, Sincere and T's discussion is more out of love and concern, and this difference flows into their lovemaking as well. Tommy and Keisha's sex scene is rough and animalistic, while Sincere and T's was more soft and passionate. You can actually see and feel that what they had was genuine. And after they're both done, Tommy somehow has enough energy to leave the house and go bother Sincere to put him on to his next move. So Tommy wants to step into the dope game, and Sincere is not with it. Sincere doesn't want to go in deeper than they already are, but Tommy sees dollar signs. And he's saying all type of stuff to get Sincere involved.
I'm telling you, dog. Bitches will fuck your whole shit up.
So Tommy and Sincere head over to count and separate the money at Black's grandma's house. Child, why are they bringing all this heat over to Graham's house? So disrespectful. And while they're there, Knowledge, the neighborhood instigator, calls to give Tommy some news about his boy Black.
I heard that motherfucker was out there running his motherfucking mouth and shit. Matter of fact, I heard the nigga was trying to act like he wanted to stick Sincere for some shit.
And apparently Black was sour about his cut and the fact that Sincere's cut was bigger than his, and Tommy was tired of his bitter attitude, so he gets at him and starts shooting at the floor. Again, at this dude's grandma's house, just disturbing this poor lady. Anyway, we fast forward to Tommy meeting his connect, Ox. Now, Ox was Jamaican and clearly loaded. This dude had a mansion with staff. Something serious. And I'm basically gonna paraphrase this conversation because between what Tommy was saying and Ox's patois, their conversation made no sense. And let me note that it wasn't because of him speaking patois. This conversation was not linear at all. But basically, Tommy wanted access to dope and Ox was resistant because Tommy is loud and will put a lot of attention on him. And Tommy, being Tommy, insinuated that Ox might be scared, but he quickly sets him straight.
Good.
Hold on. I run shit. I kill for nothing. And I make lots of money. I deal with the business. Don't bring that shit to me.
But eventually, Ox agrees to front him if he does him a favor, and it's on from this point. We then go to Keisha calling Tommy, and it turns out he's with Kiana. You know, the whole teenager. And honestly, I don't know how Keisha didn't hear Kiana in the background because she was not trying to hide the fact that she was there. Dude was really a sleazeball, so here you go. We then have a montage time of Tommy and Sincere. Tommy's prepping the stash, Sincere is focused on his family and reading, and their other homeboy is busy getting the striptease. Child. Priorities, I guess. But basically, they set up camp in Omaha, and it's a great move for them. But of course, this was bound to cause issues with the competition since they are taking over their customers and their city. While all this is happening, Sincere started to see what T was trying to tell him about there being more to life, and he tries to run this by Tommy. But of course, he was not trying to hear none of it. His mind was too clouded by the fast money and material things.
You think another motherfucker know what you need to do? Ain't no purpose, dog. It's money. We born to fucking die, man. In the meantime, get money.
Meanwhile, Rico has his eyes on them and they don't even know it. Out here looking like a country pimp in Omaha.
Might have to drop a dime on them niggas.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
They did not have to do my boy Tyron Turner like that. I mean, damn. But anyway, Tommy was so reckless in all areas of his life. He was bound to be a problem. He had this careless, untouchable attitude.
I'm out here smoking weed, speeding, all that, dog. Fuck that. That's me. Untouchable.
We then fast forward to Ox inviting Tommy to Jamaica. It's time to complete that favor. Baby, they get down to Jamaica, and I'm talking about the real Jamaica. Ain't no resort to be found. We got kids running up to the car and they got weapons. It's very serious. And another thing, you cannot tell me that there was a script for their scenes. It literally feels like gibberish with them. No flow to their conversation at all. Even with him speaking patois, there's no cohesiveness to their conversation whatsoever. So while Tommy's down in Jamaica, Keisha and T get together to do some shopping and have a little girl talk. She complains to T about Tommy and how she wishes that he was more like Sincere, and T gives her the truth, no chaser.
Tommy's not gonna be shit but what he is. It's like certain types of people that just accept the bad in life, and that's cool with them.
And she gives Keisha the key to it all, even though she wasn't in the space yet to fully receive it.
But you and Sincere are so happy.
I'm happy with Sincere because I'm happy. If I wasn't happy with him, then I have to do what I have to do. You have to do the same for you.
T was dropping gems. But anyway, we go back to Tommy and Ox in Jamaica, and this whole scene was a vibe. Again, I loved how Hype captured this and how he brought attention to the skin with oil and glitter and showed a bit of the dance hall culture. And I don't know who this girl was, but she was winding down. okay? But Ox points out his op, Sosa, Tommy's next victim. I ain't even gonna hold you. This feather mohawk situation confused me back in 99, but 2023 me, I kind of think this shit is fire. Don't judge me. Anyway, we fast forward to Omaha, and apparently Rico done called the hotline and snitched on Tommy and his boys, getting Mark and Knowledge caught up, and then Knowledge crazy ass calls Tommy's home from jail. So you know it wasn't gonna be too long before they showed up at Tommy's place. We go back to Jamaica and Tommy completes his hit on Sosa. Let me say that after seeing how the kids get down in Jamaica, I wouldn't roll down my windows for nobody. But unfortunately, he does, and he gets got. And as Tommy makes it back home, he pulls up to find his house getting raided while Keisha was there. Meanwhile, Sincere is out of the loop, and when Tommy finally gets a hold of him, he's freaking out. So Sincere meets up with Tommy and finds out that Tommy got raided by the feds and they hit him up in Omaha as well. Now, how he didn't know about this shit? Was he that out the loop? But I guess it's worked in his favor. But this line was pretty hilarious to me.
Soon as he gets knocked, calls my crib from out there, man. What the fuck is wrong with this nigga? That's your man. That's your man.
Anyway, they head off to a payphone after Tommy gets a message from Keisha. And Tommy can tell that the feds got her and are trying to use her to get him to come to the house. At this point, Tommy ain't got no dope for Ox. All his cash was at the house. He's in a bad spot. We then go to Knowledge in jail, and he calls one of his homeboys, Shamik, and tells him how Rico snitched on them, and it took absolutely no time for him to fly to Omaha and handle some business. And he was so loud with it though, going block to block talking about he looking for Rico, but he eventually found him at the barbershop. Listen, if he was trying to be incognito, he failed miserably.
Is this the illest nigga in Nebraska? What? Is you bout it, fool?
But Rico reluctantly agrees to entertain Shamik, and we shall see how that goes. We go back to Keisha finally getting out of jail. T gets her out, and old girl was traumatized, but not traumatized enough to go right back to Tommy's. Baby, you couldn't pay me to go back. While all this is happening, Tommy is running all over, selling anything he could find. He winds up in Atlanta and even took them young and dumb guys with him. Child. So while they're hanging out, Tommy gets a call from Knowledge. Knowledge nosy ass and called Keisha, and Keisha gave him the number. Now the feds know about his new spot. But anyway, Knowledge is still calling Tommy to get him to bail him out, and of course, Tommy ain't trying to hear none of it.
If y'all niggas don't get that bail money, we gonna see what time it is.
That's your word? Nigga, suck my dick.
We then go back to Rico and Shamik at the shake joint. Shamik is taking drinks from enemies like a dum-dum. Like, why would you do that? Rico spiked his drink and he didn't even notice. His head was definitely not on a swivel like it needed to be. And again, Shamik is saying a lot without saying much, and Rico is barely paying attention to him until he says this.
I brought a present and the whole shit from my man.
What's that?
Knowledge.
That was the wrong name to hear, and as Rico tries to run off, Shamik takes him out and gets shot in the process. He's able to run out of the club and away from the cops, barely. We then go to my favorite part. We're back in Jamaica, and word's gotten out that Ox was responsible for killing Sosa, and Miss Shakita is recruited to take him out. While all this is happening, Sincere starts to get into the minister's books, and more he's realizing that what he's doing and how he's living his life is just not going to work anymore. He's looking forward to changing his life for the better. And to completely go in the opposite direction, we go to Tommy. He's still hanging out with Dumb and Dumber. They're at some restaurant and they start talking shit to one another. And of course, it escalates and Tommy being Tommy eggs it on and the dummies end up pulling guns out on each other.
Nah, bitch nigga ain't no bitch in me.
Did you see how fast they ran once the first gun was laid on the table? That's what I'm talking about. Asking no questions. And this escalates even more when one of them kills each other, and Tommy, being both high as hell and just plain tired of everything, stayed there and waited for the cops. And they book him, and it's pretty much a wrap for now. One thing I never noticed is this scene.
Sincere.
So he snitched on Sincere? No, not the main one talking about hold me down, man. I gotta be able to trust you. Child. And then he does the same thing he told Knowledge not to do, and he calls Sincere at his home and tells him to get rid of his car and to handle other things. And it was finally time for Ox to suffer the consequences. Shakita has finally made her way stateside, and baby, when Ox realized what time it was, he was shocked. Now, I ain't gonna lie, Ox was ready. He wasn't an easy victim at all, and he talked plenty of shit.
Ramp with me. Who want test me? Come on!
Yet and still, he was no match for Shakita, and it was a wrap for him. So, by the time Sincere makes it to Ox's, police are everywhere, and he learns he's dead. After this, Sincere just drives around for a while and finds himself where he grew up at. He runs into this young kid, and it's clear this kid is headed down the wrong path. This young man is serving, smoking, and toting a gun. Like, damn. And Sincere tries to talk some sense into him, but who knows if he truly listened, or even if he could afford to take heed to what he was saying at this point. We go back to Tommy in jail, and he gets word that he's getting out. And he wasn't even out there long before he got approached by the feds to do a favor in exchange for complete freedom. Turns out they want him to kill the minister, the same minister that Sincere follows. And if he does that, he'll be free. And Tommy, feeling lost and not knowing what other options he had, agrees to it. We then go back to Sincere and T. They're talking about their future plans, and Sincere suggests that they go to Africa. T is hesitant since it will be a big change and it's hella far, obviously, but she promises to think about it. Meanwhile, Tommy starts studying under the minister and taking his new role seriously since it was going to take a lot of work to get close to the minister. And Knowledge and Shamik start planning how they would get back at Tommy, and of course, they chose to go at the women to get to the men. So they show up at Sincere's house first, and baby T was not with the bullshit.
Oh shit, what the fuck are y'all doing in my house?
They don't do anything to her, thank goodness, but she's freaked out as anyone would be. While all this is happening, Tommy reaches out to Sincere and asks him to meet him. Sincere doesn't trust him and his guard is up, but when he sees him and hears the words coming out of his mouth, he knows that Tommy has made a change for the better.
He was always right, dog. We was on the road to destruction from the beginning. But now, you know, the minister showed us the right path.
They put Tommy in the position to take out the minister, thinking someone like him could possibly get converted. I guess things happen for a reason. Tommy was headed down the stairway to hell or death, but this assignment was opening his eyes and changing his heart. Tommy even gives what he has left to Sincere since he's no longer going to need it. Shortly after their meeting, Tommy meets with the feds one more time before he sets out to complete his mission. Dude was real insistent about him taking out the minister.
Do not attempt to get a brain on this. You hear me? You're my nigga, man. You're my nigga.
Honestly, I think him saying this started the chain of events of that night. As Sincere finally makes it home and T lets him know what happened earlier. They are both freaking out, but they finally decide to go to Africa for good. And Sincere is really excited about their new plans. He goes to the barbershop for the last time, and as he leaves out, he runs into Black. And it turns out he's been holding a grudge ever since what happened in his grandma's basement, and he shoots Sincere. When Sincere makes it home, he tells T to get their things ready because they will be leaving out for Africa sooner than they thought. And while all this is happening, Shamik and Knowledge are still out to get Sincere and Tommy. So Knowledge tells Shamik where Keisha can be found. Meanwhile, Tommy finally makes it to where the minister will be giving his speech. He sneaks off to get closer to him. When he finally makes it to him, it turns out that the minister was already expecting him. He goes on to recite his speech to Tommy, and Tommy respects him enough to listen. As we're listening to his speech, Shamik makes it over to Keisha's. He sneaks into the house and starts beating her up, but Keisha takes him out with a statue and a gun. She, like T, was not going for the bullshit. As the countdown to the new year begins, we hear the minister's final call to Tommy and the world as we knew it then.
Help me to build up a population of great thinkers. Will you choose the light over the darkness?
And thankfully, Tommy listens and he lets the minister live and he begins a new life. I wonder what happened after this. We don't get to know because the movie ends off with Sincere telling us how him and T made it to Africa. Just Africa. No specific country. Just Africa, child. And that's the end of the movie. And here are my final thoughts. I just wonder why this movie was called Belly. And now after 11 years, I get it. Tommy and Sincere were in the trenches of life, both hopping from hustle to get to the money and attain the good life and everything they thought came with it. However, Tommy and Sincere were two very different people. While Sincere was, well, sincere and genuine, he was 10 toes down for Tommy, even when he was unreasonable, which was a good 90% of the time. He always tried to reach Tommy to teach him and show him that maybe there was something more for them. He was a caring partner to T, a caring father, and constantly seeking knowledge about life and trying to better himself, for himself, and others. But then we go to Tommy, who came from the same environment as Sincere, but took a whole other approach to life. Tommy was a by any means necessary type of guy, aggressive, violent, and into fast money and material things. Though I'm pretty sure he and Sincere both loved material things just the same, but Tommy was really flashy and deliberate. Tommy was so loud with what he was doing that this made Ox not want to work with him at first because he knew that Tommy's ways would put more eyes on him. Tommy didn't want to listen to anything Sincere tried to tell him when it came to life. Books, not a thing. The only time he really reflected on the things Sincere was trying to tell him was after he had already got caught up. And I really want to know if he snitched on Sincere when he was being questioned by the cops. I don't know for sure, but he brought up his name for a reason. Oh, and Tommy was horrible to the women in his life. High-key a freaking predator. Grooming Kiana since she was 11 and having her doing sexual favors on him. Low-key getting that girl ready to be Keisha's replacement. And trying to convince Sincere not to listen to his girlfriend or any woman. Dude was horrible for most of the movie. He still gets an extreme side eye from me even after the redemption arc. And let's talk about Miss Keisha, child. I sincerely hope that Keisha really took in what T was trying to tell her, because honestly, she told her what she needed to hear. Both Sincere and T tried their best to talk some sense into both Tommy and Keisha. Tommy eventually got it, but when it came to Keisha, we didn't get to see much. I believe Keisha, like Tommy, loved what the fast money brought to their lives. The houses, the cars, the clothes, but they both later realized that in the end, it was never going to be enough. She had everything but Tommy's love. She had everything but a true, loyal partner. She was never going to have what T had with Sincere with Tommy. And I really wish she would have cut ties with Tommy after getting out of jail herself and just went cold turkey, because her being linked with him almost got her taken out. Though she was able to fight back and survive her attack, a lot of women are not that lucky. I wish we could have saw her move on after leaving him and what that would have looked like for her. But anyway, that's it, y'all. Thanks for watching this review. This video will be available to watch on Spotify, and the audio version will be available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time, you guys. Oh, and Deliver Us from Eva is up next. So, bye.